Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravajakacharya Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ananda Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravajakacharya Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavan Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganges Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga, Gaur Premananda. Amen. Haribo, namaste. Om Jnanatam-arandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshulam-militam Jena Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamaya Dadati Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual masters have opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world, the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter at his lotus feet? So today we'll be reading from the 8th canto, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the 6th chapter, entitled The Demigods and Demons Declare a Truce. So in the previous verse, the demigods were offering prayers. The demigods had approached Lord Brahma because they had been defeated by the demons, and Lord Brahma took them to the shore of the ocean of milk where they prayed to Shiradaksha Vishnu. And the Shiradaksha Vishnu, being pleased with their prayers, is now going to come and instruct them. Oh, we have a little bandit run through the room here. Let's see where Krishna went. There he is. Okay. Text 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, being thus worshipped with prayers by the demigods and Lord Brahma, appeared before them. His bodily effulgence resembled the simultaneous rising of thousands of suns. The vision of all the demigods was blocked by the Lord's effulgence. Thus, they could see neither the sky, the directions, the land, nor even themselves, what to speak of seeing the Lord, who was present before them. Lord Brahma, along with Lord Shiva, saw the crystal clear personal beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose blackish body resembles a maraca gem. Thus, whose blackish body resembles a marakata gem, whose eyes are reddish like the depths of a lotus, who is dressed with garments that are like molten gold, and whose entire body is attractively decorated. They saw his beautiful, smiling, lotus-like face, crowned by a helmet bedecked with valuable jewels. The Lord has attractive eyebrows, and his cheeks are adorned with earrings. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva saw the belt on the Lord's waist, the bangles on his arms, the necklace on his chest, and the ankle bells on his legs. The Lord is bedecked with flower garlands. His neck is decorated with the Kaustubha gem, and he carries with him the goddess of fortune and his personal weapons, like the disc and club. When Lord Brahma, along with Lord Shiva and the other demigods, thus saw the form of the Lord, they all immediately fell to the ground, offering their obeisances. Lord Brahma said, "Although you are never born, your appearance and disappearance as an incarnation never cease. You are always free from the material qualities, and you are the shelter of transcendental bliss resembling an ocean. Eternally existing in your transcendental form, you are the supreme subtle of the most extremely subtle. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme, whose existence is inconceivable." Report by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4:6, "Apopi san avamatyama bhutanam ishvaropi shan prakritim swamahishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya." Although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. In the following verse in Bhagavad Gita 4:7, the Lord says, "Yara yara hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhiyahutanam abhasya taratmananam srijayanaham." Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Thus, although the Supreme Lord is unborn, there is no cessation to his appearance in different forms as incarnations, like Lord Krishna and Lord Rama. Since his incarnations are eternal, the various activities performed by these incarnations are also eternal. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not appear because he is forced to do so by karma, like ordinary living entities, who are forced to accept a certain type of body. It is to be understood that the Lord's body and activities are all transcendental, being free from the contamination of the material modes of nature. These pastimes are transcendental bliss to the Lord. The word aparigana damne is very significant. There is no limit to the Lord's appearance in different incarnations. All these incarnations are eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. So this wonderful description of the appearance of Lord Vishnu whose blackish body resembles a Marakata gem, whose eyes are reddish like the depths of a lotus, who is dressed with garments that are yellow like molten gold, and whose entire body is attractively decorated. They saw his beautiful, smiling, lotus-like face, crowned by a helmet bedecked with valuable jewels. The Lord has attractive eyebrows, and his cheeks are adorned with earrings. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva saw the belt on the Lord's waist, the bangles on his arms, the necklace on his chest, and the ankle bells on his legs. The Lord is bedecked with flower garlands. His neck is decorated with the Kaustubha gem, and he carries with him the goddess of fortune and his personal weapons, like the disc and the club. So Lord Brahma and the demigods were able to, due to their pleasing Lord Vishnu with their prayers, Lord Vishnu agreed before them. It's not that he was forced to appear before them, but he agreed to out of his causeless mercy. And when Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma and the other demigods saw Lord Vishnu, at first, because his effulgence was so dazzling, they couldn't see him at all. All they could just see is this amazing effulgence. But then out of his causeless mercy, Krishna allowed them to see through that effulgence to signal form, because they wanted to see his form. They were devotees. They had this desire to see the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of God. Whereas the impersonalists, who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only do they have no desire to see the form of the Lord, but they insist that it doesn't even exist. And that if it does seem to exist in some circumstances, it is simply a trick of Maya. And this is due to their envious nature, because they don't want to think of some person being greater than themselves. But at the same time, they realize that they're suffering in the material world. And so they want to come to a position of power where they're no longer being subjected to the miseries of the material world. So they want to again be God, but not recognize God. So they desire to merge into the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmajyoti feature, which is what the demigods were first saw when Lord Vishnu appeared before them. They were blinded by his effulgence. And this effulgence of Lord Vishnu, of Krishna, is what makes up the Brahmajyoti. But then, because the demigods desired to have a personal relationship, he let them see his form. We also see in the Upanishad, there's a verse like this, that one prays to see beyond the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and be able to see the bodily features. But this is the form of the Lord that Lord Brahma is used to seeing, right? This is Lord Vishnu with the 4 hands. He's got the club, the disc, the lotus. What's the other one? The rock? Yeah. Right? And he's this gigantic, majestic, powerful being. And that's why when he saw Krishna in Vrindavan, he was confused. How can this be the Supreme Personality of God? He didn't recognize him. And therefore he thought, let's see what happens when I steal Krishna's cowherd boys and cows and put them in a cave for a little while. And let's just see what this little boy can do, you know. And then when Krishna exhibited his amazing mystic powers by expanding himself not only of all the cowherd boys, but also all the cows and calves, and maintained that for a complete year without anyone being the wiser except Lord Balaram, then he goes, I think I've got myself a little out of my league here, you know. So he very humbly appears before Lord Krishna. He wants to sneak up and offer his obeisances, but then he sees all of the cows and calves and boys being transformed into 4-armed Vishnu forms, and he realizes, oh my goodness, I've blown it. And then he offers some wonderful prayers to Krishna at that time. So there's no limit to the Lord's appearance in different incarnations. All these incarnations are eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Text 9. O best of persons, O Supreme Director, those who actually aspire for supreme good fortune, worship of your Lordship according to the Vedic Tantras. My Lord, we can see all the three worlds in you. Purport. The Vedic mantras say, Yajmen vijante sarvam eva vijatam bhavati. When the devotee sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his meditation, or when he sees the Lord personally, face to face, he becomes aware of everything within this universe. Indeed, nothing is unknown to him. Everything within this material world is fully manifested to a devotee who has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 4:34 therefore advises, Tad vidipanani tatena pariprashena sevaya upakadashanti ye janam jnananas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Lord Brahma is one of these self-realized authorities. Swayambhur Narada Swambhu Karma Kapila Muna. One must therefore accept the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, and then one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in fullness. Here the word Vishvamutau indicates that everything exists in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is able to worship him can see everything in him and see him in everything. So Lord Brahma is the head of our sampradaya. He's the original spiritual master in our sampradaya. We're in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya sampradaya, coming down from Lord Brahma. And it's very nice to note that once one self-realized devotee, pure devotee of Krishna, and sees Krishna face to face, that everything is known to him. Everything within this material world is fully manifested to a devotee who has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we come in contact with the pure servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, the bona fide spiritual master, that's why we have these wonderful prayers that we offer during Guru Puja, acknowledging the amazing position of the pure devotee of Krishna, how he's not an ordinary personality of this world, that he's transcendental to the three modes of material nature. And although he may act in such a way that we can relate to him, acting like the teacher of an elementary school by standing before us and writing on the blackboard with big block letters A, B, C to try to teach us in a way that our puny little brains can understand. We're dealing with the most wonderful personality. Text 10. My dear Lord, who are always fully independent, this entire cosmic manifestation arises from you, rests upon you, and ends in you. Your Lordship is the beginning, sustenance, and end of everything, like the earth, which is the cause of an earthen pot, which supports the pot, and to which the pot, when broken, finally returns. O Supreme, you are independent in yourself and do not take help from others. Through your own potency, you create this cosmic manifestation and enter into it. Those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness, who are fully in knowledge of the authoritative Shastra, and who, through the practice of bhakti yoga, are cleansed of all material contamination, can see with clear minds. Although you exist within the transformations of the material qualities, your presence is untouched by these qualities. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa chara charam henutatena kunteya jagat viparvatartate. This material nature, working under my direction, O son of Kunti, is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. The material energy creates, maintains, and devastates the entire cosmic manifestation because of directions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enters this universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, but is untouched by the material qualities. And actually, before he enters into the universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, first he appears as Karnadakshai Vishnu and lies down on the causal ocean. And then from Karnadakshai Vishnu, then Garbhodakshai Vishnu manifest. And then from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, then Kshirodakshai Vishnu manifest. And it's Kshirodakshai Vishnu that has appeared before Lord Brahma and the demigods. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord refers to Maya, the external energy, which creates this material world, known as Mama Maya, my energy, because this energy works under the full control of the Lord. These facts can be realized only by those who are well versed in Vedic knowledge and advanced in Krishna consciousness. So why is it that these facts can be realized only by those who are well versed in Vedic knowledge and advanced in Krishna consciousness?
Because otherwise we're under the influence of Maya.
Exactly. We're under the illusory energy of Krishna. We can't see it. So unless we're advanced enough in Krishna consciousness to be taking shelter of Krishna and at least come to the point of wanting to give up our enviousness of Krishna, then we won't be able to understand Krishna at all. Text 12. As one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of the cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises, so, by the practice of bhakti yoga, even within this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. Purport. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is nirguna, not to be found within this material world, the entire material world is pervaded by him, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatam idam sarvam. The material world is nothing but an expansion of the Lord's material energy, and the entire cosmic manifestation rests upon him. Matstani sarva bhutani. Nonetheless, the Supreme Lord cannot be found here. Na chesham tvesha avashtitaha. A devotee, however, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the practice of bhakti yoga. One ordinarily does not begin the practice of bhakti yoga unless he has practiced it in previous births. So, if one doesn't come to the point of practicing bhakti yoga unless he's practiced it in previous births, how does he initially begin? How does he initially begin his practice of bhakti yoga?
Through the mercy of a devotee?
Exactly. Through the mercy of the devotee who comes and introduces him to the concept of bhakti yoga. Because the pure devotee, the devotee of Krishna knows Krishna intimately. It's not a theoretical understanding. It's not some kind of intellectual exercise. Krishna is his most dear friend. Krishna is his most dear lover. Krishna is his most life and soul. Krishna is his everything. It doesn't go 1 nanosecond without being totally entranced by Krishna's beauty and Krishna's loving exchanges. And he's so overwhelmed with this love that he has for Krishna and feels from Krishna that he's overwhelmed with compassion for the fallen conditioned souls and just can't tolerate our suffering, knowing that all we have to do is again surrender to Krishna, give up our so-called desire for so-called independence, and again enter into that loving relationship with Krishna, and everything will be wonderful again. So the devotee, out of his causeless mercy, he's not doing it for some gain. This is what causeless mercy means. There's no cause for him doing it. It's just out of spontaneous love for Krishna and Krishna's children that he's acting. And this is how one gets introduced into the process of bhakti yoga. Moreover, one can begin bhakti yoga only by the mercy of the spiritual master in Krishna. Guru Krishna Prashadi Paya Bhakti Latabij. The seed of devotional service is obtainable by the mercy of Guru, the spiritual master, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only by the practice of bhakti yoga can one achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and see him face to face. Premanjjana Chittarika Bhakti Vilochena Sanatan Sadaiva Hridesho Vilokanati. One cannot see the Lord by any other methods, such as karma, jnana, or yoga. Under the direction of the spiritual master, one must cultivate bhakti yoga. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarnam Parasevanam. Then, even within this material world, although the Lord is not visible, a devotee can see him. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktyamam abhijannanvam yaschashmi tatvataha. And in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Bhaktyaham ekashagaraha. Thus, by devotional service, one can achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he is not visible or understandable to materialistic persons. In this verse, the cultivation of bhakti yoga is compared to many material activities. By friction, one can get fire from wood. By digging the earth, one can get food grains and water. And by agitating the milk bag of the cow, one can get nectarian milk. Milk is compared to nectar, which one can drink to become immortal. Of course, simply drinking milk will not make one immortal, but it can increase the duration of one's life. In modern civilization, men do not think milk to be important, and therefore they do not live very long. Although in this age, men can live up to 100 years, their duration of life is reduced because they do not drink large quantities of milk. This is a sign of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, instead of drinking milk, people prefer to slaughter an animal and eat its flesh. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his instructions of Bhagavad Gita, advises Goraksha, which means cow protection. The cow should be protected. Milk should be drawn from the cows, and this milk should be prepared in various ways. One should take ample milk, and thus one can prolong one's life, develop his brain, execute devotional service, and ultimately attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is essential to get food grains and water by digging the earth, it is also essential to give protection to the cows and take nectarian milk from their milk bags. The people of this age are inclined toward industrial enterprises for comfortable living, but they refuse to endeavor to devotional service, by which they can achieve the ultimate goal of life by returning home back to Godhead. Unfortunately, as it is said, Na te vidhu svarta gatim hi vishnum darasya ye bahir arthamaninaha. People without spiritual education do not know that the ultimate goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. Forgetting this aim of life, they are working very hard in disappointment and frustration. Moghasha moham karano mohajana vitasha. The so-called Vaishyas, the industrialists or businessmen, are involved in big industrial enterprises, but they are not interested in food grains and milk. However, as indicated here, by digging for water, even in the desert, we can produce food grains. When we produce food grains, we can give protection to the cows. While giving protection to the cows, we can draw from them abundant quantities of milk. And by getting enough milk and combining it with food grains and vegetables, we can prepare hundreds of nectarian foods. We can happily eat this food and thus avoid industrial enterprises and joblessness. Agricultural and cow protection are the ones, and thus be attracted to devotional service. Those who are sinful cannot be attracted by devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesham tvai antagatam papam jnananam punya karanam te devanta maha nirmukta bhajanti mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. The majority of people in this age of Kali are sinful, short-living, unfortunate, and disturbed. Manda sumandana matyo mandana bhaga hi upateuda. For them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kalona steva gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Ooh, Haribol. So if one has any doubts about whether one should drink milk, let them be put to rest. Text 13. Elephants afflicted by a forest fire become very happy when they get water from the Ganges. Similarly, O my Lord, from whose navel grows a lotus flower, since you have now appeared before us, we have become transcendently happy. By seeing your Lordship, whom we have desired to see for a very long time, we have achieved our ultimate goal of life. The devotees of the Lord are always very eager to see the Supreme Lord face to face, but they do not demand that the Lord come before them, for a pure devotee considers such a demand to be contrary to devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches this lesson in his Shishashtaka. Adarshanam mama hatam karutava. The devotee is always eager to see the Lord face to face, but if he is broken-hearted because he cannot see the Lord, even life after life, he will never command the Lord to appear. This is a sign of pure devotion. Therefore, in this verse, we find the word ati chira ipishte artam, meaning that the devotee aspires for a long, long time to see the Lord. If the Lord, by his own pleasure, appears before the devotee feels extremely happy, as Dhruva Maharaj felt when he personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord, he had no desire to ask the Lord for any benediction. Indeed, simply by seeing the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj felt so satisfied that he did not want to ask the Lord for any benediction. Swamin kritahatosmi varam me yache. A pure devotee, whether able or unable to see the Lord, always engages in the Lord's devotional service, always hoping that at some time the Lord may be pleased to appear before him so that he can see the Lord face to face. And of course, one of the most wonderful examples is Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is a very amazing personality. He appeared in this world before Lord Chaitanya in an impious land, born in a Muslim family with no good association. And somehow or other, through Krishna's desire, at least we have no knowledge of his coming in contact with a bona fide spiritual master. He became attracted to the service of Krishna, became attracted to the holy name of Krishna. So much so, when he was given the choice of either give up the chanting of these so-called Hindu names of God or face death, he says, do what you must, but I cannot give up the chanting of these names of God. He was so humble that even though Lord Chaitanya, he wasn't allowed to go in, when Lord Chaitanya moved to Jagannath Puri, because of his so-called low birth, Haridas Thakur was not allowed to enter the temple of Jagannath Puri. So Lord Chaitanya set him up with a little hut where he could see the Jagannath temple, and there's this big spire, and on top of the spire is a flag. And Lord Chaitanya explained that simply by seeing that flag on the Jagannath temple, it was as good as going in and seeing Jagannath personally. But even though Haridas was not allowed to go into the temple to see the Lord would appear personally before him as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya would come see him almost daily and bring him prasadam from Jagannath. And yet, even though the Lord was coming to see him personally and serving him by bringing him prasadam, Haridas Thakur remained so humble that when it came time to clean the Gundicha temple to prepare it for Lord Jagannath's visit there, and all the devotees were in there and having this huge competition on who could get the most dirt out of the temple, and they were all just trying to, get every little speck out between every little crack, and yet none of them, no matter how hard they worked, Lord Chaitanya always had a pile of dirt that was 10 times the size of any other person. And Haridas Thakur was in there working alongside everyone else, and had hundreds of men bringing water pots from the river, and they're washing the whole place. Then afterwards, when the temple was just shining, just so amazingly cleansed, Lord Chaitanya was finally satisfied and pleased with it. He sat everyone down and ordered a big festival and a feast. And they laid out, everyone sat down in rows with these banana leaves there, and Lord Chaitanya personally got up and started putting the prasadam on the banana leaves for the devotees. But Lord Chaitanya's hands were so big, he was putting as much as 5 men could eat on each plate. And so Swarup Damodar and Govinda said, oh, you go sit down, let us serve out the prasadam. You know? So Lord Chaitanya went and sat down, and he says, come on, everyone eat. And everyone says, we can't eat until you eat. You know. So finally, Lord Chaitanya began to take his prasadam, but he looked and says, where's Haridas? And Haridas was outside. And he called to Haridas, Haridas, come in, join us. And Haridas said, no. He said, I'm too sinful to eat with you guys. And he says, if there's some remnants left over when you're done, I'll simply take those and be satisfied with that. And Lord Chaitanya was so pleased with Haridas's humility that when it came, when Haridas Thakur decided he wanted to leave this world, Lord Chaitanya stated, Haridas, any happiness I have in this world is simply due to your association. You cannot leave me here by myself. And Haridas said, oh, don't make an illusion. I'm just an insignificant creature. What is the loss to the material world if an ant dies? He says, yet I expect you to allow me to leave this world with your lotus feet on my chest while I stare at your moon-like face chanting your holy name. And Lord Chaitanya said, Haridas, whatever you desire, Krishna must grant. So even though the devotee is so humble that he doesn't feel that he can demand the Lord appear before him, at the same time he has this confidence in the Lord's love for him that he knows that Krishna will appear before him in due course of time and be there when he's leaving this world. Text 14. My Lord, we, the various demigods, the directors of this universe, have come to your lotus feet. Please fulfill the purpose for which we have come. You are the witness of everything, from within and without. Nothing is unknown to you, and therefore it is unnecessary to inform you again of anything. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetra Gyan Chapi Mam Vidhi Sarva Kshetra Bharataha. The individual souls are proprietors of their individual bodies, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of all bodies. Since he is the witness of everyone's body, nothing is unknown to him. He knows what we need. Our duty, therefore, is to execute devotional service sincerely, under the direction of the spiritual master. Krishna, by his grace, will supply whatever we need in executing our devotional service. In the Krishna consciousness movement, we simply have to execute the order of Krishna and Guru. Then all necessities will be supplied by Krishna, even if we do not ask for them. 15. I, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the demigods, accompanied by the Prajapatis like Daksha, are nothing but sparks illuminated by you, who are the original fire. Since we are particles of you, what can we understand about our welfare? O Supreme Lord, please give us the means of deliverance that is suitable for the Brahmins and demigods. Purport. In this verse, the word Dvija Deva Mantram is very important. The word mantra means that which delivers one from the material world. Only the Dvijas, the Brahmins, and the Devas, the demigods, can be delivered from the material existence by the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a mantra and is suitable for delivering the conditioned souls from mental speculation. I love that phrase. Suitable for delivering the conditioned souls from mental speculation. This is the bane of the conditioned soul in the human form of life. He finally gets a body that has advanced enough intelligence and consciousness that he can ask those questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is life all about? Why am I suffering? What is the cause of all causes? Who is God? Yet, even though he has this advanced intelligence, it's a double-edged sword. So on one hand, he has the ability to ask these questions, but on the other hand, he has the arrogance to think that he can answer them himself through his mental speculation, by figuring things out, by using the imperfect input he gets from his imperfect, limited senses and massaging it with his limited intelligence. He thinks he can come to know the absolute truth on his own. This is called mental speculation. But one can be delivered from material existence by instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls are engaged in a struggle for existence. Manashtatradena prakriti sthani karshati. Deliverance from this struggle constitutes the highest benefit. But unless one gets a mantra from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, deliverance is impossible. The beginning mantra is the Gayatri mantra. Therefore, after purification, when one is qualified to become a Brahmin, Dvija, he is offered the Gayatri mantra. Simply by chanting the Gayatri mantra, one can be delivered. This mantra, however, is suitable only for the Brahmins and demigods. In Kali Yuga, we are all in a very difficult position in which we need a suitable mantra that can deliver us from the dangers of this age. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his incarnation as Lord Chaitanya, gives us the Hare Krishna mantra. Harinama, Harinama, Harinam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva 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 gatyaranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. In his Shashastika, Lord Chaitanya says, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. All glories to the chanting of the Shri Krishna Sankirtan. The Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly chanted by the Lord himself, who gives us this mantra for deliverance. We cannot invent any means to be delivered from the dangers of material existence. Here, even the demigods, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and the Prajapatis, such as Daksha, are said to be like illuminating sparks in the presence of the Supreme Lord, who is compared to a great fire. Sparks are beautiful as long as they are in the fire. Similarly, we have to remain in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always engage in devotional service, for then we shall always be brilliant and illuminating. As soon as we fall from the service of the Lord, our brilliance and illumination will immediately be extinguished, or at least stopped for some time. When we living entities, who are like sparks of the original fire, the Supreme Lord, fall into a material condition, we must take the mantra from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as it is offered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, we shall be delivered from all the difficulties of this material world. It's very encouraging. (16) Sukadeva Goswami continued, when the Lord was thus offered prayers by the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, he understood the purpose for which they had approached him. Therefore, in a deep voice that resembled the rumbling of clouds, the Lord replied to the demigods, who all stood there attentively with folded hands. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of the demigods, was capable of performing the activities of the demigods by himself, he wanted to enjoy pastimes in churning the ocean. Therefore, he spoke as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods, please hear me with great attention, for what I say will bring good fortune for all of you. As long as you are not flourishing, you should make a truce with the demons and asuras, who are now being favored by time. Purport. One word in this verse has two readings, kalena and kuvena. Kalena means favored by time, and kavyena means favored by Sukracharya. Sukracharya being the spiritual master of the Daityas. The demons and Daityas were favored in both ways, and therefore the demigods were advised by the Supreme Lord to execute a truce for the time being, until time favored them. I find this so interesting. I have a tendency to think in terms of Krishna being partisan, right? Krishna being the protector of the demigods and the Brahmins. But it's a mistake to think that Krishna doesn't love the demons just as much as he loves the demigods. Krishna's love for all his children is unconditional. He's more pleased with the demigods than he is with the asuras, but his love for them is the same, and therefore he wishes the welfare for both. And so the material world is set up for those people who want to be separate from Krishna, be in the illusion, rather, that they are separate from Krishna. And therefore, the demigods and the demons, they both get their different times in the sun when things favor them. So right now, it's the demons' times to flourish. So Krishna says, hey, this is all going on by my arrangement. Don't fight it, right? Accept it. This is what's going on. Make the best of a bad bargain, and let's make a deal with the demons, right? Find some common ground, and then let them defeat themselves through their own bad characteristics, and which will happen in due course of time, right? Because the demons are impious, and so their bad karma is going to catch up to them. You just have to wait for it to happen. Text 20. O demigods, fulfilling one's own Fulfilling one's own interest is so important that one may even have to make a truce with one's enemies. For the sake of one's self-interest, one has to act according to the logic of the snake and the mouse. Report. A snake and a mouse were once caught in a basket. Now, since the mouse is food for the snake, this was a good opportunity for the snake. Right? The mouse can't get away. He's stuck in the basket with him. However, since both of them were caught in the basket, even if the snake ate the mouse, the snake would not be able to get out. Therefore, the snake thought it wise to make a truce with the mouse and ask the mouse to make a hole in the basket so that both of them could get out. The snake's intention was that after the mouse made the hole, the snake would eat the mouse and escape from the basket through the hole. This is called the logic of the snake and the mouse. Wow, what an example of the material world, right? We're all so self-centered, trying to exploit others in so many ways, that we have the logic of the snake and the mouse guiding us. (21) Immediately endeavor to produce nectar, which a person who is about to die may drink to become immortal. O demigods, cast into the ocean of milk all kinds of vegetables, grass, creepers, and drugs. Then, with my help, making Mandara mountain the churning rod, and Vasuki the rope for churning, churn the ocean of milk with undiverted attention. Thus the demons will be engaged in labor, but you, the demigods, will gain the actual result, the nectar produced from the ocean. Purport. It appears that when different types of drugs, creepers, grass, and vegetables are put into this milk, and the milk is churned, as milk is churned for butter, the active principles of the vegetables and drugs mix with the milk, and the result is nectar. 24. My dear demigods, with patience and peace, everything can be done. But if one is agitated by anger, the goal is not achieved. Therefore, whatever the demons ask, agree to their proposal. A poison known as Kalakuta will be generated from the ocean of milk, but you should not fear it. And when various products are churned from the ocean, you should not be greedy for them or anxious to obtain them, nor should you be angry. Purport. It appears that by the churning process, many things would be generated from the ocean of milk, including poison, valuable gems, nectar, and many beautiful women. The demigods were advised, however, not to be greedy for the gems or beautiful women, but to wait patiently for the nectar. The real purpose was to get the nectar. 26. Sukadeva Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, after advising the demigods in this way, the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all living entities, disappeared from their presence. Then Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, offering their respectful obeisances to the Lord, returned to their abodes. All the demigods then approached Maharaj Bali. Maharaj Bali, a most celebrated king of the demons, knew very well when to make peace and when to fight. Thus, although his commanders and captains were agitated and were about to kill the demigods, Maharaj Bali, seeing that the demigods were coming to him without a militant attitude, forbade his commanders to kill them. Purport. Vedic etiquette enjoins Grihe statram api patram vishvashtam akutabhayam. When enemies come to their opponent's place, they should be received in such a way that they will forget that there is animosity between the two parties. Bali Maharaj was well conversant with the arts of peacemaking and fighting. Thus, he received the demigods very well, although his commanders and captains were aggravated. This kind of treatment was prevalent even during the fight between the Pandavas and the Kurus. During the day, the Pandavas and the Kurus would fight with the utmost strength, and when the day was over, they would go to each other's camps as friends and be received as such. During such friendly meetings, one enemy would offer anything the other enemy wanted. That was the system. This was back in the day when there was such a thing as honor and chivalry and honesty, and which we saw all break down at the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra when Ashvatthama, the fallen son of a Brahmin, created a Brahmastra weapon to try to kill King Parikshit in the womb of his mother, Uttara. Text 29. The demigods approached Bali Maharaj, the son of Virochana, and sat down near him. Bali Maharaj was protected by the commanders of the demons and was most opulent, having conquered all the universes. After pleasing Bali Maharaj with mild words, Lord Indra, the king of the demigods, who was most intelligent, very politely submitted all the proposals he had learned from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. The proposals submitted by King Indra were immediately accepted by Bali Maharaj and his assistants, headed by Shambhara and Arishtanemi, and by all the other residents of Tripura. Purport. It appears from this verse that politics, diplomacy, the propensity to cheat, and everything that we find in this world in individual and social negotiations between two parties were also present in the upper planetary systems. The demigods went to Bali Maharaj with a proposal to manufacture nectar, and the Daityas, the demons, immediately accepted it, thinking that since the demigods were already weak, when the nectar was produced, the demons would take it from them and use it for their own purposes. The demigods, of course, had similar intentions. The only difference is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, was on the side of the demigods because the demigods were his devotees, whereas the demons did not care about Lord Vishnu. All over the universe, there are two parties, the Vishnu party, or God-conscious party, and the godless party. The godless party is never happy or victorious, but the God-conscious party is always happy and victorious. 32. O Maharaj Parikshit, chastiser of enemies, the demigods and the demons therefore made an armistice between them. Then, with great enterprise, they arranged to produce nectar, as proposed by Lord Indra. Purport. The word samvidam is very important in this verse. The demigods and the demons both agreed to stop fighting, at least for the time being, and endeavored to produce nectar. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur notes in this connection, Samvid yudhe pratidyanam archane nami toshane sambashani kriyatkari shaketra janaram api. The word samvid is variously used to mean in fighting, in promising, for satisfying, in addressing, by practical action, indication, and knowledge. In other words, doublespeak. 33. Thereafter, with great strength, the demons and the demigods, who were all very powerful and who had long, stout arms, uprooted Mandara mountain. Crying very loudly, they brought it toward the ocean of milk. Because of conveying the great mountain for a long distance, King Indra, Maharaj Bali, and the other demigods and demons became fatigued. Being unable to carry the mountain, they left it on the way. The mountain, known as Mandara, which was extremely heavy, being made of gold, fell and smashed many demigods and demons. Purport. By constitution, gold is heavier than stone. Since Mandara mountain was made of gold and was therefore heavier than stone, the demigods and demons could not properly carry it to the ocean of milk. 36. The demigods and demons were frustrated and disheartened, and their arms, thighs, and shoulders were broken. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who knows everything, appeared there on the back of his carrier, Garuda. Observing that most of the demons and demigods had been crushed by the falling of the mountain, the Lord glanced over them and brought them back. Thus, they became free from grief, and they even had no bruises on their bodies. The Lord very easily lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garuda. Then he too got on the back of Garuda and went to the ocean of milk, surrounded by the demigods and demons. Purport. Here is proof of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone. There are two classes of living entities, the demons and the demigods, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above them both. The demons believe in the chance theory of creation, where the demigods believe in creation by the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The omnipotence of the Supreme Lord is proved here, for simply with one hand he lifted Mandara mountain, the demigods and the demons, placed them on the back of Garuda, into the ocean of milk. Now, the demigods, the devotees, would immediately accept this incident, knowing that the Lord can lift anything, however heavy it may be. But although the demons were also carried along with the demigods, demons, upon hearing of this incident, would say that it is mythological. But if God is all-powerful, why would it be difficult for him to lift a mountain? Since he is floating innumerable planets within many hundreds and thousands of Mandara mountains, why can't he lift one of them with his hand? This is energy, but the difference between the believers and the faithless is that the devotees accept the incidents mentioned in the Vedic literatures as true, whereas the demons simply argue and label all these historical incidents as mythology. Demons would prefer to explain everything happening in the cosmic manifestation takes place by chance, but demigods or devotees never consider anything to be chance. Rather, they know that everything is an arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the difference between the demigods and the demons. 39. Thereafter, Garuda, the chief of birds, unloaded Mandara mountain from his shoulder and brought it near the water. Then he was asked by the Lord to leave that place, and he left. Purport. Garuda was asked by the Lord to leave that place because the snake, Vashuki, who was to be used as the rope for churning, could not go there in the presence of Garuda. Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, is not a vegetarian. He eats big snakes. Vashuki, being a great snake, would be natural food for Garuda, the chief of birds. Lord Vishnu therefore asked Garuda to leave so that Vashuki could be brought to churn the ocean with Mandara mountain, which was to be used as the churning rod. These are the wonderful arrangements of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing takes place by accident. Carrying Mandara mountain on the back of a bird, and putting it in its right position might be difficult for anyone, whether demigod or demon, but for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible, as shown by this pastime. The Lord had no difficulty lifting the mountain with one hand, and Garuda, his carrier, carried all the demons and demigods together by the grace of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is known as Yogeshvara, the master of all mystic power, because of his omnipotence. If he likes, he can make anything lighter than cotton or heavier than the universe. Those who do not believe in the activities of the Lord cannot explain how things happen. Using words like accident, they take shelter that are unbelievable. Nothing is accidental. Everything is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa chara charam. Whatever actions and reactions occur within the cosmic manifestation all take place under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, because the demons do not understand the potency of the Lord, when wonderful things are done, the demons think that they are accidental. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 6th chapter of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, entitled, The Demigods and Demons Declare a Truce. Haribo.
Haribo.
Quite a few important lessons in that chapter, don't you say?
Yeah. I thought it was amazing that they start executing this plan and then they're unable to do it.
Yeah.
The mountain falls over on them, and so Vishnu has to come and help them.
And even then, even though Vishnu comes and helps him out, the demons still don't like him, right? They're still... It's a nature, right? We see it all the time in materialistic life. What's that saying? No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
But as instructive as and amazing these pastimes are, they pale in significance in what's to come in the 10th canto. When Krishna comes and starts relating to his pure devotees in Vrindavan, and we see how through the glories of pure devotional service, even the most powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead is controlled by the love of his devotee. And how ultimately Srimati Radharani is wrapping Krishna around her little finger, causing him to do this and do that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Haribol.